Imagine for a moment living like the great Stoic masters, going through your days unperturbed by criticism, gossip, or unexpected events, keeping your mind as steady as a rock in the midst of a storm. Have you ever thought how liberating it would be not to be dragged down by the chaos of others? It's not fiction. It's not a superpower. It's a practical philosophy taught for centuries by the likes of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and today it can be a game changer for those tired of being held hostage by their own emotions. Have you ever noticed how small everyday situations can rob you of your peace? A dirty look, a mean remark, that attitude that seems designed to provoke you. What if I told you that there's a way to avoid being affected by any of this? The Stoics weren't cold or insensitive. They were warriors of the mind, able to separate emotion from logic, to act with courage and serenity, even when everything around them seemed to be falling apart. And that strength, my friend, is within your reach. Today, without beating around the bush, I'm going to reveal the step-by-step process for shielding your mind and achieving a peace that no one can take away. Don't expect generic advice or sound bites. This is straight to the point, with real stories and techniques that work for those who have lived long enough to know that life is not a fairy tale. You will learn how to turn empathy into a shield, use patience as a secret weapon, build your self-esteem so that no one's opinion can bring you down, and much more. Each topic in this video is a Stoic lesson that can turn your life around. And don't think it's just theory. Every piece of advice here is meant to be put into practice, so you'll leave this video a different person to when you entered it. At the end, I'll tell you a secret that few people know, and that could be the turning point that prevents you from ever letting anything or anyone get to you again. So if you're ready to take control, stop suffering over nonsense and finally live with the peace of mind of the truly wise, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Don't miss a second, because every detail here could be what you need to transform your journey. Now get ready. It's time to act like a true Stoic and show that no one will ever take your peace away again. Let's do it. The power of acceptance. Stop fighting the uncontrollable. Acceptance in Stoicism is not synonymous with weakness or resignation. On the contrary, it is an active and courageous approach to life. Stoics teach that to achieve true peace of mind, we must recognize the difference between what is within our control and what is not. This distinction is the starting point for a lighter and more powerful life. When you realize that you cannot control the actions, opinions, or feelings of others, you begin to redirect your energy to what really matters, your own choices and reactions. Imagine how much time and energy you've wasted trying to change someone's behavior, dwelling on hurt feelings, or worrying about situations that are simply out of your control. Stoics do not waste their lives fighting impossible battles. They understand that fighting the uncontrollable is like trying to hold the wind in your hand. Instead of getting frustrated, they learn to accept what cannot be changed and focus on what they can change, their own attitude in the face of adversity. Acceptance does not mean agreement or resignation. It means looking reality straight in the face, without masks or illusions. When a problem arises, the Stoic asks himself, "Can I change this?" If the answer is no, he takes a deep breath, lets go of the weight of the impossible, and chooses to act with serenity. This active acceptance opens space for creativity, for finding solutions within the possible, and for acting with integrity without being dragged down by negative emotions. It is a daily exercise in humility and courage. In everyday life, practicing Stoic acceptance is like wearing an invisible shield. When someone offends you, when circumstances frustrate you, you remember that you have no control over what happens, but you have complete control over how you react. Instead of exploding, you can choose to respond calmly, or not at all. This is not indifference, this is wisdom. You stop being a hostage to the attitudes of others and become the protagonist of your own story. Acceptance also teaches you how to handle emotions better. Stoics do not preach the suppression of feelings, but rather the use of reason to avoid being dominated by them. When anger or sadness arise, welcome these feelings, but do not let them dictate your actions. Use rational judgment to decide how to respond. In this way, you will turn any emotional storm into learning and growth, rather than allowing it to destroy your peace. Finally, accepting the uncontrollable is an act of freedom. When you stop trying to change what is out of your control, you have much more energy to invest in yourself, your projects, and the relationships that really matter. You learn to live in the present, to appreciate what you have, and to act with purpose. Stoicism shows that by accepting what cannot be changed, you gain the power to change what is within your reach. And it is in this choice, made day by day, that true inner strength is born. Empathy, the surprising weapon against emotional chaos. At the heart of Stoicism, empathy is not just a social virtue, but a tool for emotional survival. Imagine being in the midst of a storm of other people's emotions, such as when someone who is clearly upset takes out all their frustration on you. The immediate impulse may be to fight back, to defend yourself, or even to absorb this negative energy. But the Stoic sees an opportunity to practice empathy, to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to understand where so much anger or sadness is coming from. This exercise is not easy, but it is what separates those who live at the mercy of chaos from those who navigate it with serenity. Stoicism teaches that we all carry invisible battles within us. When someone treats us badly, it is natural to think it is a personal attack. But Stoic philosophy invites us to look deeper. What if the problem is not you, but what the other person is going through? Perhaps they are dealing with losses, pressures, or insecurities that have nothing to do with your presence. By adopting this perspective, you cease to be an easy target for other people's emotions and begin to float above the chaos, like someone learning to swim in turbulent waters without drowning. For the Stoics, empathy does not mean allowing others to overstep your boundaries or becoming an emotional punching bag. On the contrary, it is about recognizing the pain of others without absorbing it, while maintaining your own integrity and balance. It's like building an invisible shield. You feel, you understand, but you don't allow yourself to be contaminated. This attitude not only protects your inner peace, but can also diffuse conflicts, because often when the other person realizes that they have been understood, they calm down and the tension dissolves. The great Stoic masters, such as Marcus Aurelius, emphasize the importance of seeing humanity as a large organism in which each individual is an essential part of the whole. This vision of oneness reminds us that by helping others to find balance, we also contribute to our own well-being. Practicing empathy is therefore an act of wisdom and connection with the world. It is not about being cold or distant, but about acting with reason and compassion at the same time, without getting lost in the whirlwind of emotion. The Stoic secret is to respond, not to react. Instead of acting in the heat of the moment, the Stoic observes, reflects, and then chooses his attitude. If someone provokes you or tries to draw you into a drama, practice active listening. Pay attention not only to the words, but to what lies behind them. Often a simple, "I understand how you feel," can turn a tense atmosphere into one of mutual respect. This approach will not eliminate problems, but it will prevent them from multiplying and taking over your day. Finally, when combined with Stoic philosophy, empathy becomes a true art of living. You learn to recognize the boundaries between what belongs to you and what belongs to others, to act decisively without losing sensitivity, and to build healthier and more authentic relationships. Emotional chaos will always be around us, but it is up to you to decide whether to be swept away by it or to use empathy as a compass to weather any storm with balance and dignity. Patience, the forgotten superpower. In the whirlwind of our daily lives, where everything seems urgent and every second is fought over with messages, commitments, and demands, patience has become a rare, almost forgotten virtue. Stoicism, however, rescues this quality as a true superpower. For the ancient Stoics, to be patient was not simply to endure the passage of time, but to cultivate an inner strength capable of transforming any situation of waiting, frustration, or delay into a training ground for the mind and spirit. They knew that haste is the enemy of clarity, and that only those who know how to wait can see beyond the immediate chaos. Stoic philosophy teaches that patience is not passivity. It is an active form of resistance and emotional intelligence. When something does not happen at the pace you want, or when someone provokes you in the expectation of an explosive reaction, patience is revealed as a conscious choice. Instead of giving in to the impulse to react in the heat of the moment, the Stoic takes a deep breath, observes the situation, and decides how to respond. This pause, however small, can prevent misunderstandings, preserve relationships, and above all, protect your peace of mind. The secret is to understand that not everything is under our control. Patience is a direct result of this realization. When you accept that you cannot speed up time, change other people's minds, or control immediate outcomes, you realize that the only territory that is truly yours is your response. The Stoics practiced the art of waiting without fear, of acting calmly even when everything around them seemed to demand haste. They knew that great achievements come not from immediacy, but from constancy and serenity in the face of adversity. Developing patience is like strengthening a little-used muscle. At first it can be uncomfortable, almost painful. The urge to solve everything immediately, to react to every provocation, or to demand immediate results is strong. But every time you allow yourself to wait, to breathe and not act on impulse, you build emotional resilience that makes you stronger and stronger. The Stoic sees every moment of waiting as an opportunity to grow, to test their resilience, and to prove to themselves that they are not a slave to circumstance. Patience is also deeply connected to mindfulness. When you learn to be present, to value the moment rather than living anxiously for the future, you discover that time seems to slow down. Tasks take on more meaning, conversations become deeper, and even small daily rituals become sources of joy and learning. The Stoic does not rush to the end. He savors the journey, knowing that each step has its value and that true happiness lies in living well in the present. Finally, patience is the antidote to despair and frustration. When things don't go as planned, when results are slow to come, or when everything seems to be conspiring against you, patience is what keeps you from giving up. It gives you the strength to persevere, to adapt and to find creative solutions to obstacles. Stoicism reminds us that life is made up of cycles, that everything passes, and that what seems like a setback today is often a preparation for something greater. Cultivating patience, therefore, means taking control of your own mind and becoming truly unshakable in the face of life's storms. Self-esteem, the shield against toxic opinions. Self-esteem, in the Stoic view, is not merely a reflection of praise or external achievements, but an inner fortress built on the pillars of self-knowledge and virtue. While the modern world tries to convince us that our worth is tied to popularity, other people's opinions, or impossible standards, Stoicism reminds us that true confidence comes from harmony between who we are and how we act, regardless of the noise around us. The Stoics taught that healthy self-esteem begins with a clear understanding of what we can control. You cannot force someone to admire your qualities, but you can choose to cultivate integrity, courage, and wisdom in every action. In his Meditations, Marcus Aurelius affirmed that other people's opinions are like the wind. They can blow in any direction, but they do not determine the strength of a tree. When your self-esteem is nourished by inner virtues, criticism becomes background noise, unable to shake your roots. The trap of seeking approval is countered by a simple Stoic practice, distinguishing between the real I and the projected I. As long as you worry about appearing strong, intelligent, or successful, you will be held hostage by the expectations of others. Authenticity, on the other hand, requires you to acknowledge your flaws without shame and celebrate your victories without arrogance. Like a sculptor patiently working on his own statue, you carve your character with actions that align with your values, not with what others find admirable. Stoic resilience to toxic opinions comes from premeditatio malorum, the rational anticipation of adversity. Imagine someone questioning your choices or ridiculing your dreams. Instead of reacting with anger or insecurity, ask yourself, does this affect my ability to be fair, courageous, or moderate? If the answer is no, the criticism loses its power. You don't deny the existence of the poison, but you refuse to drink it. Self-esteem is like a filter here. It lets in only what contributes to your growth and discards the rest without remorse. The community around you is also an essential part of this shield. The Stoics did not preach isolation, but the conscious choice of companions who reflect the virtues you seek. Toxic relationships are like quicksand. They sap your energy and distort your sense of self. Those who inspire authenticity and mutual respect, on the other hand, act as mirrors, reminding you of your own strength, even on difficult days. Seneca warned, "Show me with whom you walk, and I will tell you who you are becoming." Finally, Stoic self-esteem is fueled by gratitude, not for grandiose achievements, but for the daily awareness that you are already complete. Epictetus compared life to a theater. You don't control the plot, but you decide how to play your part. When you stop searching for water in the desert of other people's approval, you discover inner sources of confidence. Toxic opinions don't disappear, but they lose the right to dictate your worth. You move forward as a Stoic, imperfect, evolving, and in possession of the only judgment that matters, your own. Free yourself from perfectionism. the illusion that only holds you back. We live in an age where the pursuit of perfection has become an invisible prison. On social media, everyone flaunts flawless smiles, sculpted bodies, and glittering achievements, but behind these facades lies a universal truth. Perfection is a mirage. Stoicism, with its ancient wisdom, invites us to abandon this exhausting race and find freedom in accepting the imperfect. While the modern world glorifies absolute control, the Stoics teach that true mastery lies in recognizing human limitations and embracing the beauty of good enough. The Stoics understood that the obsession with perfectionism stems from the illusion that we can control every aspect of life. Epictetus, one of the great masters of this philosophy, reminded us that our power lies only in our choices and actions, never in the results or external circumstances. If you wear yourself out trying to control every detail, you are fighting against the wind. True peace begins when you distinguish between what is in your hands, your intentions, efforts, and values, and what is beyond your control, other people's opinions, unforeseen events, and inevitable failures. The idea of good enough is not conformism, but a Stoic strategy for conserving energy. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius emphasized that excellence is not the absence of error, but the ability to act with virtue, even in the face of imperfection. Imagine a Stoic craftsman sculpting a statue. He gives it his all, but knows that small flaws in the marble do not invalidate his work. Similarly, your life does not need to be flawless to be worthy. It is enough that every action reflects integrity and purpose. Mistakes, in the Stoic view, are crucial teachers. Seneca compared life to a voyage at sea. Even the most skilled navigator will encounter storms, but it is in these storms that he develops his courage and resilience. Every stumble is an opportunity to learn humility, to change course, and to strengthen character. Instead of punishing yourself for failing to meet impossible standards, ask yourself, what can I learn here? This shift in perspective turns failures into stepping stones, not abysses. Freedom from perfectionism also means letting go of the need for external validation. When you seek approval in likes, compliments, or comparisons, you are handing over your worth to others. The Stoics preached emotional self-sufficiency. Your self-esteem should come from the consistency of your actions with your principles, not from fleeting applause. Like a tree that does not depend on the wind for its roots, you flourish when you stop begging for recognition and start honoring your own essence. To apply this in your daily life, practice premeditatio malorum, the rational anticipation of obstacles. Visualize scenarios where things go wrong and plan how you would react calmly. When a project does not go as planned, take a breath and remember that failure is not in the outcome, but in the refusal to move forward. Cultivate the habit of celebrating effort, not just success. At the end of the day, reflect, was acting with virtue my priority? If so, even if imperfectly, you have already won. True Stoic freedom comes when we exchange the mask of perfection for the courage to be human. Mistakes, failures, and new beginnings are not shameful, but proof that we are living authentically. As Seneca said, life is like a play. It's not how long it lasts, but how well it's performed. Stop looking for a flawless script and start dancing with imperfections. For it is through the cracks that light enters, and it is there that we discover the strength to move forward, free from the burden of perfection. Gratitude, the antidote to complaint. In Stoicism, gratitude is not a simple thank you for good things, but a silent revolution in the way we view existence. While the world teaches us to complain about the traffic, our boss, or cold coffee, the Stoics propose a radical way to be grateful even for the stones on the path, for they are what strengthen our steps. The point is not to deny reality, but to see every situation as a lesson in disguise. Even that silly argument on the family group chat. The Stoics understood that complaints are like wind against a sailboat. They use energy, but do not change the direction of the wind. The real power lies in adjusting the sails. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his diaries that he was grateful even to his enemies, for it was they who tested his patience and made him wiser. This active gratitude does not come from luck, but from a daily decision to focus on what you have, not what you lack. It's like replacing a magnifying glass that magnifies problems with a telescope that reveals possibilities. A powerful Stoic exercise is a gratitude journal with a philosophical twist. Instead of just listing achievements, include challenges. Be grateful for the tense meeting that taught you to listen better, the cancelled project that freed up time for something better, or even the rainy day that allowed for deep reflection. This practice reprograms the mind to see adversity as a coach, not an executioner. As Epictetus said, it is not events that disturb people, but the judgments they make about them. Stoic gratitude shines even brighter in storms. Imagine losing something precious, a job, a relationship, even your health. While many sink into mourning, the Stoic asks, "What does this teach me?" Exiled and persecuted, Seneca wrote his greatest works far from Rome. Instead of cursing his fate, he was grateful for the time of solitude that allowed him to philosophize. This attitude does not negate pain, but transforms it into fuel for growth. Gratitude is the art of extracting light even from ashes. In relationships, gratitude acts as an invisible glue. The Stoics saw humanity as an interconnected organism. Every gesture of gratitude strengthens that network. Saying thank you to the doorman for a good morning, to a colleague for a simple favor, or even to a stranger for a smile, is not just politeness. It is a recognition that no one is an island. This practice dissolves arrogance and cultivates humility, reminding us that even the bread we eat depends on the sun, the rain, and the hands that planted it. Ultimately, Stoic gratitude is liberating. When you stop begging for praise and start valuing your own achievements, you become immune to the opinions of others. When you celebrate the simple fact of breathing, you understand that life is already a gift, not a problem to be solved. Complaints lose their power when you ask the question, "Will this matter in a year's time?" The answer is almost always no. All that remains is to dance in the rain of circumstances, knowing that every step, however awkward, is a cause for celebration. Assertive communication, saying what needs to be said. In a world where many would rather swallow their pride than face discomfort, assertive communication stands out as one of the Stoics' greatest weapons for protecting their dignity and avoiding the accumulation of resentment. Stoics do not hide behind masks of composure while they are seething inside. They understand that expressing limitations and needs is an act of respect, both for themselves and for others. Stoic philosophy teaches that clarity in communication is not synonymous with aggression, but rather with emotional maturity. Saying what needs to be said, directly and without beating around the bush, is the way to healthier relationships and a mind free of unnecessary tension. The basis of assertive Stoic communication is self-awareness and control of one's emotions. Before they open their mouths, Stoics observe what they are feeling and thinking, trying not to be slaves to impulses or automatic reactions. They breathe, reflect, and only then take a stand, avoiding turning minor irritations into major conflicts. This self-control is the result of daily training, of looking inwards where reason serves as a compass for every word chosen. The aim is not to win an argument, but to build a bridge of understanding without losing self-respect. Being assertive, according to Stoicism, also means knowing how to pick your battles. Not every provocation deserves a response, but when something really matters, the Stoic does not hesitate to take a stand. They understand that constant inaction, the famous "let it go," only feeds a cycle of dissatisfaction and emotional exhaustion. Assertive communication is the antidote to this silent poison. It prevents small annoyances from turning into deep wounds. The Stoic says what is necessary, without exaggeration or dramatization, and learns to value silence when it is wiser than any words. Another fundamental point is honesty. The Stoic does not resort to half-truths or omissions to avoid conflict. They understand that the truth, however uncomfortable, is always easier than a lie. By saying what they think, they do not intend to hurt, but rather to align expectations and avoid misunderstandings. This attitude requires courage, as the other person is not always ready to listen. But authenticity is a non-negotiable value for those who want to live by their own principles. Assertive communication is therefore a commitment to one's own integrity. Stoic philosophy also teaches that we cannot control the reactions of others, only our intentions and the clarity of what we communicate. Stoics speak with respect, but do not take responsibility for the feelings of others, as long as their attitude is ethical and fair. They understand that everyone interprets the world based on their own pain and experience, and that it is not possible to please everyone. By being firm and calm, they build relationships based on trust and mutual respect, distancing themselves from those who cannot deal with clear boundaries. Finally, in Stoic practice, assertive communication is a tool for freedom. Learning to say no without guilt, to express one's needs without fear, and to set boundaries without anger achieves a peace that is not dependent on the behavior of others. Stoics do not remain silent in the face of what bothers them, but neither do they make a mountain out of a molehill. They speak when necessary, remain silent when wise, and above all remain committed to never betraying their own truth. This is the true strength of those who live by Stoic philosophy, the courage to be clear, authentic, and respectful, even when the world insists on confusing sincerity with aggression. Humor, turning drama into comedy. Life has a surprising way of putting us in the most unexpected and often absurd situations. Often thought of as serious and unemotional, the Stoics actually recognized this unpredictability as an essential part of the human experience. Their wisdom teaches us that instead of sinking into despair or frustration when things go wrong, we can choose a lighter perspective, one that allows us to laugh at the drama rather than be consumed by it. For the Stoic, humor is not a denial of reality, but a powerful tool for facing life's challenges with grace and resilience. From ancient philosophers to those who practice Stoicism today, the ability to see the comic side of life's difficulties has always been valued. There are stories, such as that of the Stoic Chrysippus, who is said to have died laughing when he saw a donkey eating figs. Although funny, this anecdote reveals a profound truth. The Stoic does not take himself or the world so seriously that he turns every setback into a tragedy. On the contrary, he recognizes the folly and unpredictability of life and finds in it a reason to smile, not to lament. Seneca, another great Stoic, argued that it is better to laugh at life than to lament it, suggesting that humor is a sign of wisdom and perspective. Applying this Stoic approach means cultivating the habit of good humor in ourselves. Instead of judging our own mistakes harshly or feeling ashamed of our failures, we can learn to see them as just another funny episode in the comedy of our lives. If we stumble over our words in a meeting or spill coffee on our shirt before an important appointment, the Stoic response is to acknowledge what has happened, laugh at the situation, and move on. Not only does this attitude relieve tension, it also demonstrates emotional intelligence, the ability to accept that we are imperfect in an equally imperfect world. Humor, from a Stoic perspective, is not mockery or escapism. It is a way of reframing our experiences and creating emotional distance from problems. When we laugh at our own exaggerated reactions or the unpredictability of events, we remember that our peace of mind does not depend on what is happening externally. It comes from within, from our ability to choose how we respond. This inner freedom is at the heart of Stoic resilience. By refusing to let adversity dictate our mood, we remain calm and clear-headed even in the face of chaos. In addition, humor can be a powerful tool for bonding with others. In moments of shared difficulty, a well-timed joke or an understanding smile can turn a tense situation into a moment of camaraderie. The Stoics believed that we are all travelers on the unpredictable road of life, and humor helps us to remember our common humanity. Rather than isolating ourselves in our difficulties, we can use laughter to create empathy and mutual support, turning adversity into an opportunity for collective growth. Ultimately, adopting humor as a Stoic practice means seeing life from a higher perspective. It means recognizing that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always choose how we interpret and respond to each situation. By choosing to see the comedy in everyday dramas, we not only protect ourselves from unnecessary suffering, but also cultivate joy and resilience. Ultimately, the Stoics' laughter is not superficial. It is a sign of wisdom, a testament to the strength that comes from facing life's absurdities with a clear mind and an open heart. Accept impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. From an early age, we are taught to seek security and stability, as if life could be controlled and kept the same forever. The reality is very different. Everything around us is constantly changing. Stoicism invites us to view this impermanence not with fear, but with acceptance. By understanding that nothing lasts forever, we begin to see our problems and emotions in a new light. What seems unbearable today may be a distant memory tomorrow, almost insignificant. Stoic philosophy teaches that suffering often arises from our resistance to the natural flow of things. We wish the good times would last forever, and the bad times would never come, but life doesn't work that way. When we accept that everything is temporary, we gain a powerful inner freedom. We no longer need to fight the inevitable or cling to what cannot be kept. This does not mean being indifferent, but learning to live more lightly in the present, knowing that both joys and difficulties will pass. When something irritates us or throws us off balance, the Stoic suggests that we pause for reflection. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can ask ourselves, will this still be important in a week, in a month, in a year? Most of the time, we realize that we are wasting energy on situations that will soon be forgotten. This simple exercise helps to put things into perspective, reduce the weight of problems, and prevent minor setbacks from dominating our mood. Accepting impermanence also means learning to mentally change the channel. Just as we change the channel when we don't like what's on the television, we can choose not to get stuck in negative thoughts or useless worries. Stoicism teaches us that we have the power to focus our attention on what really matters. If something has no lasting relevance, why allow it to steal our peace? By practicing this detachment, we become more resilient and better prepared to deal with the ups and downs of life. Furthermore, awareness of impermanence makes us appreciate the present more. Knowing that nothing is eternal, we learn to enjoy the good moments more, without worrying about the future or regretting the past. Every experience, whether pleasant or challenging, is seen as part of the flow of life, something that contributes to our growth. It is in this acceptance that the Stoic finds serenity. There is no reason for despair in the face of loss, nor for euphoria in the face of gain, for all is transitory. In the end, accepting impermanence is one of the greatest lessons of Stoicism. It is the recognition that life is made up of cycles and that each phase, however difficult it may seem, will pass. This view does not make us cold, but rather wiser and more open to change. When we stop fighting against time and embrace the natural movement of existence, we find a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, but on our own attitude to them. This is how the Stoic walks with lightness, knowing that whatever the scenario is today, it will never be exactly the same tomorrow. Mindfulness, mastering the present moment. Modern life bombards us with distractions, worries, and stimuli that take us away from the only moment that really exists, the now. Far from being a passive philosophy, Stoicism offers an active way to reclaim this inner space. Mindfulness, or prosoche, as the ancient Stoics called it, is not just about concentration, but about loving vigilance over our thoughts and actions. While the world demands immediate responses, the wise Stoic learned to create a sacred pause between stimulus and response. It is in this interval that true freedom lies. For the Stoics, the human mind is like a garden. If it is not tended daily, the weeds of distraction and disordered passions will take over. Epictetus compared our attention to that of a watchman in a castle tower, ever vigilant against the invasion of hasty judgments. This vigilance is not paranoia, but constant training to distinguish between what depends on us and what is part of the inevitable flow of life. When something throws us off balance, be it criticism or an unexpected event, the Stoic does not deny the initial emotion. He observes it as one would observe clouds passing in the sky, knowing that they do not define the mood of the soul. The practice takes the form of simple gestures. Before responding to a provocation, take 3 deep breaths, as Marcus Aurelius suggested in his diaries. In this brief moment, ask yourself, does this reaction bring me closer to my best self? The mind, initially turbulent like churning water, gradually regains its clarity. This daily exercise transforms crises into opportunities for self-awareness, where each irritation becomes a mirror that reveals our fragile areas and invites us to strengthen them. Unlike contemporary approaches that focus only on individual well-being, Stoicism combines mindfulness with ethics. Being present also means recognizing the moral implications of every choice, no matter how small it may seem. When you serve yourself food, remember who planted the grains. When you walk through the city, notice the invisible network of human effort that supports every detail. This expanded awareness prevents the mind from wandering into selfish ramblings and roots us in shared reality. A common myth is that mindfulness eliminates intense emotions. The Stoics suggest something more subtle, becoming a conscious spectator of your own mind. When anger arises, instead of feeding it with mental narratives, observe its physical sensations: heat in the face, muscle tension, until it loses strength for lack of fuel. This technique, described by Seneca, transforms emotions into temporary phenomena, not masters of our actions. True mastery of the present moment comes when we stop fighting the clock. Whether in long queues or unavoidable waiting, the Stoic finds richness in apparent emptiness. Instead of reliving the past or fearing the future, they discover universes in previously ignored details: the pattern of the clouds, the rhythm of their own breathing, the texture of the ground beneath their feet. In this state of radiant presence, even monotony reveals its secret poetry, teaching us that peace is not in what we experience, but in how we experience what is presented to us. Surround yourself with positive people. Environment is everything. On the path to Stoicism, the environment in which we live and the people with whom we surround ourselves play a fundamental role in our emotional and mental development. Stoics have always warned about the power of external influences, because while we are responsible for our own attitudes, it is undeniable that we are deeply affected by the emotional climate around us. If we are surrounded by negative, critical, or constantly dissatisfied people, it is as if we are carrying extra weight every day. Little by little, without realizing it, we begin to see the world through the same dark lens, and life loses its luster. On the other hand, when we seek the company of people who see possibilities, who know how to appreciate small pleasures, and who encourage us to grow, our energy is transformed. Stoicism does not suggest that we should run away from all problems or avoid anyone who is going through difficulties, but rather that we should be discerning about who we allow to influence our state of mind. The balance lies in spending time with those who inspire us to be better, without closing ourselves off from reality, but also without letting the pessimism of others drag us down. Spending time with positive people does not mean living in a fantasy world and ignoring the challenges of life. Stoics themselves recognize that existence is made up of ups and downs, but they learn to choose their focus. Around people who cultivate hope and serenity, we learn to cope better with adversity because we see living examples of resilience and optimism. These people act as anchors, helping us to maintain balance even when everything seems to be falling apart. The environment is therefore a reflection of the choices we make every day. If we want peace and clarity, we need to seek out environments that foster these qualities. This may mean changing our social circle, limiting contact with those who only know how to complain, or even transforming our own home into a space of harmony. Stoics understand that if we cannot change everything around us, we can at least choose where and with whom we spend our energy. As well as seeking good company, Stoicism invites us to be a source of positivity for others. By cultivating a calm, generous, and encouraging attitude, we end up positively influencing those around us. Rather than absorbing the bad mood or negativity of others, we can be the point of light that inspires change. So even when someone tries to bring us down with words or actions, we use these experiences as material to strengthen our own castle of serenity. Ultimately, our environment is not just the physical place, but more importantly, the emotional climate that we build and nurture every day. Surrounding ourselves with positive people is an act of self-care and collective responsibility. By choosing and offering good influences, we create a virtuous circle in which everyone can grow, learn, and approach life with greater ease. The result is a more balanced existence, where serenity becomes a conscious choice, not just a distant dream. Life, with all its ups and downs, is a journey full of challenges, surprises, and constant change. But if we look at it through the eyes of Stoicism, we realize that we don't have to be hostages to circumstances. We can laugh at our own dramas, accept that all is temporary, live with awareness in the present, and choose with whom we share our days. Each of these attitudes is like a piece of a puzzle that, when put together, reveals a lighter, more balanced and meaningful life. Imagine what it would be like to wake up every day, knowing that no matter what happens, you have the tools to deal with any situation. Humor becomes your shield against stress. Acceptance of impermanence frees you from fear. Mindfulness allows you to see beauty in even the simplest moments, and good company empowers you to move forward. In this way, you build a castle of serenity, where the stones on the path become steps for your growth. Stoicism is not a distant theory, but a daily practice made up of small, powerful choices. It's about laughing at your own mistakes, taking a deep breath before reacting, letting go of what doesn't matter, and spreading positive energy wherever you go. It's about being the protagonist of your own story, even when the script seems difficult. Now think, what is stopping you from starting to live this way today? Don't wait until life is perfect to seek serenity. Take the first step, however small. Try shifting your focus, cultivating good humor, practicing mindfulness, and getting closer to people who lift you up. You might be surprised at the transformation it brings. If this video resonates with you, share it with someone who deserves to live with more ease and balance. Let's spread this chain of serenity and inspiration together. The next chapter of your story is about to begin. How about choosing to write it with more awareness, joy,